How about a little art? I'm not going to overwhelm you. I know Americans are not the biggest fans of it. But in the Uffizi Galleria in Florence, some of the greatest Renaissance art is housed. Take a look at this sculpture. This is a Michelangelo. Look at what he can do with rock. The, the drapery, it's almost real. It's like if you touched it, it would be soft. And what's so amazing is if you look in the background, nobody's even looking at this Michelangelo that's right in front of them. Well, behind them. Because what they're looking at is this, the very famous Birth of Venus by Botticelli. I mean, it's cool, but I don't think it's that. And of course, also in Florence is the David. I've, selectively blacked out part of his anatomy. Let me tell you a little story about this. I believe it's 18 feet high, something like that. And the marble that was used to create probably the most famous statue in the world, or one of them for sure, sat in the central piazza in Florence for something like 10, 15, 20 years. It had been quarried out of the Alps, brought down to Florence to be used by somebody. But everybody looked at it, who was a sculptor at the time, and said, this thing is just long and thin. There's nothing I can do with it. And then Michelangelo looked at it one day, after it had been sitting literally just a big block of rock, sitting in the piazza. He looked at it and he said, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. And look at what happened. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this sat outside on top of the Duomo in Florence for, I think, 3 centuries. So it was outside, being weathered. And then finally it was brought inside. Because of that, there's micro cracks all over in the legs. And they have great fear that one day it could collapse. So if you want to go see the David, my suggestion, see it soon. This is also in the same museum, the Accademia, where the David is at. Michelangelo's view on sculpting was this. He believed the sculpture was already inside of the rock, and his job was to get it out. Well, he died before he finished this, but in some ways, because this gives you an insight into his mentality, it's even greater than the David, because you are getting to look at Michelangelo working when you look at this. Amazing. But probably, at least for my money, the greatest use of marble in history was Bernini. Take a look at this. This is in the Borghese Galleria in Rome. Look at her hair. Remember, this is rock. Look at her fingers. How do you carve that and shave that down? What if you break a little piece off? You start over? And when you look carefully at it, look at this. His hands are going into her flesh. Look at the top hand. His index finger is going into her flesh. It's like it's real, and it's a rock. Now, when you see Michelangelo's David, do we know whether Michelangelo's David, the sublime David standing there, is this before or after he slew Goliath? We have no idea. But with Bernini's David, we know exactly what's happening. Goliath is about ready to meet his moment because Bernini is in the moment of firing that rock at his head. Want to know something crazy about Bernini's David? That is Bernini's head. So Bernini carved his own face to be David. In addition to that, of course, the Elgin marbles are in the National Museum in Britain. These were stolen by the British from what I showed you before, the Acropolis in Athens. But these are 2,500 years old and sat outside for 24 of those 2,500 years. Imagine some anonymous person carved these things at one point, and look at how beautiful they are. Look at that horse's head. Remarkable. It's like you could reach out. You know the way the horse's nose feels? It's so soft and spongy. It's like you could reach out and touch that and feel that soft sponginess, and yet it's rock.